This morning, tensions are building in Minnesota as protests against ICE continue. Now, Governor Tim Walz has mobilized the state National Guard to be ready to support local law enforcement. The former director of ICE under President Obama is now speaking out, blasting the current operations in the state, saying, quote, "We never let things get out of control." Ken Erdahl talked to him about the ongoing operations.
This idea that ICE agents and Border Patrol agents would be in Minneapolis, Minnesota, confronting protesters, shipping tear gas at them. We never in a million years had situations. We never let things get so out of control that we'd be sitting there trying to do immigration enforcement operations with huge crowds heckling us. We just wouldn't set up our operations in a way that would ever allow that.
John Sandweg wants to be clear. It's not that they didn't conduct ICE operations in U.S. cities during the Obama administration.
The president was accused of being the deporter-in-chief.
And they did get public and political pushback.
The rise of these sanctuary cities were a direct byproduct of the shift we put on the focus on the criminal justice system.
Republicans have pointed to that shift in the relationship with courts and cities as reason for how ICE is operating now. But Sandweg says it hasn't been an excuse for escalation until now.
Even in cases where there were robust sanctuary policies, when there were violent felons, there would be cooperation. And the ICE agents understood, the supervisors, that we need to respect what the locals need. And if there's certain things they can't cooperate with us on, that's fine. We all have one shared goal: make the country safer, make our local communities safer. You wouldn't see ICE agents out on the street unless we knew exactly who we were going for before we hit the streets. Certainly, we would never publicize those operations in advance. You would never, ever see that due to the risks it posed to the agents and potentially to the public.
He said it's also troubling to see Border Patrol agents now working far beyond the scope of what they've historically been trained for.
Quite clearly, a lot of the stuff I'm seeing on television is not what I think the agency has historically defined as targeted enforcement. The administration likes to talk about these assaults, and I'm sympathetic to that. But I feel like the tactics we're using in announcing these operations, I can't emphasize how bizarre that is.
He says so is the political response, which, despite the scenes on the streets, grows more polarized by the day.
Nobody's winning based on what we're seeing here. And I've heard this characterized as you either stand for immigration enforcement or you stand for open borders and, criminal aliens. I just think that's a false choice. I would like to see ICE say, hey, we're not going to back down on our commitment to get bad guys off the street, but we're going to back down on some of these more overt things that are triggering the passions of the people. We're going to take a step towards de-escalation.
Here in Tennessee, Republican leaders are pushing for multiple immigration enforcement bills during this year's legislative session. There are at least 8 bills proposed so far with the goal to tighten verification requirements, increase cooperation with federal authorities, and close pre-existing loopholes on the state level. Republicans say this package of bills comes from a concern for public safety and to protect taxpayers' dollars. Senator Becky Duncan Massey says the government should prioritize documented Tennesseans first.
If we have to take care of a lot of folks that come over without going through the process correctly, we don't have the funding to take care of our folks that are already here.
Democrats and immigrant advocates say they are concerned these bills would limit an immigrant's access to services in the state. Representative Gloria Johnson says immigration should be possible in an agreed-upon process.
What leaders are supposed to do: sit down at a table and create an immigration policy that works for all of us. What is the way that immigrants can come to our country the right way? Get a job and become a citizen.
We will keep you updated as we continue to learn about the progress of these bills throughout the ongoing legislative session. Lawmakers will return to the Capitol again on Tuesday for the second week. And we want to know your thoughts on this year's legislative session. Scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you directly to a survey, and that's where you can share what topics you want to see lawmakers discuss.